Becca, please call the roll.
Flournoy.
Here.
Hallie.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Gandy.
Yes.
Rasmussen. Thompson. Toohill.
Yes.
Thank you. Council, are there any additions to this evening's short agenda? Okay, if not, we'll move to our consent agenda. We have approval of minutes for the January 14th council meeting, approval of a special payroll of $9,342.19, approval of the January 25th payroll of $118,459.57. We have approval of the 2019 mobile home parks, approval of a Relay for Life park use permit. This is for a noise exemption. We have approval of the Power Wagon park use permit, also noise exemption, acceptance of beautification minutes, acceptance of library board minutes, approval of liquor license for Hy-Vee meeting room and also the Fairfield Arts and Convention Center. And finally, approval of total claims in the amount of $511,557.23, of which a check for $457,896.80 will go towards PKG contracting. We are going to have a presentation by the Vintage Power Wagon representative about the use of the downtown, but essentially the exemptions for noise would, for the both Relay for Life and the Vintage Power Wagon, are based on just Central Park, which is approved by the Park and Rec Committee, and we are going to just ratify that here in our minutes if you have any other questions about those. Otherwise, any other questions on the consent agenda? Not entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved by Anderson.
Second.
Second by Flournoy. Please call the roll.
Anderson.
Yes.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Hallie.
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
Gandy.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next, council, will have a presentation by Matt Welcher, who's here this evening to tell us about this year's events surrounding the Vintage Power Wagon Rally.
Good evening. So this year will be our 32nd Power Wagon Rally. As far as the events that we're going to do open to the public, I've been working with Darian and the Chamber of Commerce in reference to Wednesday evening. We're going to kind of have a give back to the attendees of the rally night. You know, we're going to have a live band. Hy-Vee and Sweet and Saucy are going to be up there cooking food and do a meet and greet and a thank you. And so the people in town can kind of see the trucks and see the people. So we'd like to do that on Wednesday night. And then on Saturday morning, the parade, as usual, will start at the fairgrounds and work its way up to the square.
Very good.
As far as Wednesday night, would it be, can we block off the square for parking of the vehicles? Is that possible to do on Wednesday night along with Saturday morning?
For the same configuration?
Yeah.
Council, I wouldn't see why not. You know, it's evenings are easier for us than during business hours. So what time would, although getting the barricades out, what time would you want to start blocking off the square? What time is the event on Wednesday evening?
People would probably, we'd probably start rolling in between 6 and 6:30 Wednesday night, and we'd be out of there 9:30, 10 o'clock. The band's scheduled to start around 7:15, play for an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Okay. And you think by Wednesday, most of your participants will be in, or do you think it'll be a smaller group?
It's so hard to tell because each year it's grown in the past 10 years. So my assumption is we'll probably have between 100 and 125 trucks up there Wednesday night.
Okay. Council, any questions? Otherwise, I'd recommend we approve that.
I'd be all right with blocking it starting at 5 o'clock Wednesday,
Okay.
when you can put the barriers up.
Okay, then make a motion then, Michael, to...
That's a motion.
Okay, motion to approve the use of the square additionally on Wednesday evening, and that would be for blocking the traditional areas that we have the trucks on the square.
Second.
And
Yeah.
second by Gandy?
Should I be specific
Yeah.
also?
Flournoy, sorry.
Should I be specific on the other day? What was the time on the,
The evening of Wednesday, June 5th, and then it'd be Saturday morning, June 8th, from roughly 8 till noon on,
I don't think we need a specific time,
Saturday
like
morning.
whatever they've done in the past. is
normally
fine.
we block it off Friday
Friday
night
night.
before,
Okay.
that way there's no cars up there Saturday night.
so that was in the request, that part? All right.
The original request.
The
Yep.
original one, that's
Yep.
So it's like 5 to 10 on Wednesday night.
Yeah,
5 to 10 on Wednesdays, and in addition, the weekend hours.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Well, that's great. We really look forward to Wednesday evening. I know it's a little bit something different. Not everybody maybe makes it down on a Saturday morning. So this
Right.
gives people an opportunity, and also to celebrate a little bit more directly with those folks who we really do appreciate the support they give to this event and have for 34 years?
32.
32 years, yeah.
32,
Terrific.
so it's going great. Thank you guys
All
very
right,
much.
thank
I
you.
really appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Okay, next, council, we'll move to our resolutions and action items. First is the consideration of towing contract. Chief, you've finalized that?
Yes, sir. Are there any questions? We did take two proposals from the two companies. I talked to both tonight, both the city administrator, the city attorney, and myself also had, we had a small committee pick the best proposal of 3 supervisors at the police department. Beneficial more to our staff since there is no budgeted money being spent. Obviously, it's just utilizing one tow company instead of a rotation. This is what we're recommending. We're asking for your approval tonight of this contract as the final step. If
Okay.
there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Can you remind me again why it's to our benefit to go with one versus a rotation?
Certainly. The tow companies offered if we sign a contract, they will use their staff instead of our staff
That's right.
to conduct most of the paperwork for the state of Iowa on abandoned vehicles, and we're probably abandoning 3 or 4 towed vehicles a month. And our 2 dispatch supervisors that have been tasked with this are spending hours every week on paperwork. So instead of doing their job, it will be nice to get them back to their job. Plus, the company is offered to tow any vehicles for the police department. Our squad's actually owned by the police department for free, no charge all year long, which will be nice if we get a flat tire. Any problems, cars stop working, they don't run for a while, they sit at the police department, they will now do all that for free.
And also, Chief, this does not mean that someone is not given the choice as to who they might want to use. If they do have a preference for towing, and you are still giving them options and names of companies to use, but if they just want to leave it in your hands,
Definitely.
you'll be using them. So it's not completely,
Our policy
Oh, no.
still states we have to ask if they have a preference before we request a tow company.
okay.
Do you happen to know whether this one is AAA certified, like car
Yes.
clubs?
At
Okay,
this time, they are AAA certified.
okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. Council, any other questions regarding the contract? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved by Gandy,
Second.
second by Hallie. Any other discussion? Please call the roll.
Gandy,
Yes.
Hallie.
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Toohill,
Yes.
Flournoy.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Council, the next item in your agenda, the public hearing for the ADA renovation project, we will be postponing this evening and will probably come back to us at our next meeting. So we'll move then to consideration of Highway 1 sidewalk improvements at Merrill and Carpenter. Michael, okay.
Yeah, this is something that Public Safety Committee just talked about at our meeting prior to council. When MUM requested to add a crosswalk on North 4th Street, it's also Highway 1, the DOT's highway. The DOT asked the city to fix the crosswalk in the image there on the right side that crosses by Carpenter Avenue. A couple things need to be fixed. Right where that, yep, thank you, Jason. Right where Jason's circling with the mouse, that area sunk a little bit. There was a water project, and so a lot of times after rains, that's underwater. So we need to fix that. And then the current crosswalk, when it crosses and reaches the east side of the highway, it lands right at a storm intake, which really isn't ideal. So we're going to fix the sunken area and redo that. And then we're going to repaint the crosswalk slightly diagonal to the south to avoid the storm intake. And the request is to spend $4,400 from our sidewalk fund for design and materials, and then the Public Works Department will do the labor, and that'll complete this that particular upgrade. So that's the request that came from committee unanimously. So I'm going to make that request to spend $4,400 from our sidewalk fund to do the aforementioned work at the intersection there on Highway 1 by Carpenter Avenue.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion to approve the improvements.
Second.
Second by Anderson. Any other discussion? If not, please call the roll.
Hallie?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Gandy?
Yes.
Toohill?
Yes.
Flournoy?
Yes.
Just to finish, the Merrill Avenue portion of that discussion, there were a couple options. The city could have taken some out of the sidewalk fund to make some improvements, but the committee discussed instead seeking a grant from the DOT to, if you scroll down, Jason, there's another image, to do a little bit more work and upgrade that island significantly. So this would leverage our existing funds and allow us to do more upgrades at that intersection. So we're tabling Merrill for now, and we'll put together a grant application with the DOT. We feel like we have a good chance of getting it because we're involved in their road safety program. So that's just addressing why Merrill Avenue is on that action item.
Okay, thank you. So then the next action item, will that be coming from the committee as well?
This one did not because this was approved by council, so it's coming back to council, and I'll let Melanie talk about that one.
So in August of 18, we submitted an application to the Department of Transportation through their safety fund, Traffic Safety Improvements Program. The application was for improvements to 9th and Burlington. And Jason, if you would go to the third page on the action item, it shows the layout. We're moving the crosswalk from the center of 9th and Burlington to the outsides of 9th and Burlington. Also upgrading all of the pedestrian heads, adding, we will be looking into an audible pedestrian, audible signal that we had talked about at the time. So this application was approved at $66,000. The total project cost is $92,000. Basically, what they did not approve was the engineering and the mobilization. So they approved all of the costs, materials and construction costs for all of the safety-related items. Because this was not funded at 100%, I'm bringing it back to the council to determine whether we want to proceed with this project or if we wanted to not accept the money. Also, on your agenda, you'll see a fundings link. That shows the potential funding source for the $26,000 that we would need to finish this project. The sidewalks fund is the fund that was used when you did the sidewalk improvements several years ago and people had that work assessed to their taxes. This is the fund where that money comes back into. And currently we have a budget of just over $200,000. The city has what?
A balance?
A balance, yep. And the city has already committed $80,000 in fiscal years 21 and 22 for the Highway 1 project. the Highway 1 South project. So what this shows you is that if we would use the $26,000 from this fund to pay for the 9th and Burlington, we would still have enough money not only to pay for Highway 1, but there is still some additional money in there to do future sidewalk projects. And as we talked about with Merrill, some of that balance then could be used to leverage the safety funds again for the 4th and Merrill application.
Okay. Thank you, Mel. How much of the engineering costs will we be able to take in-house? Is there anything in that, or is this outside?
It is all budgeted for outside.
Okay.
I've talked with French Reniker, and if they feel like there is something that could be done in-house, I would take that on. But with the sidewalks and this being a DOT project, there's a design sheet that the DOT requires for sidewalks that I don't really have the capabilities of doing that sheet. And so I thought this would be a project that we could do all outside so I could focus on some other projects.
Okay, thank you. Council, any questions on the proposal? Obviously, this is a very dangerous crossing, no question about it. I think that we have history there. We've had recommendations from outside agencies who have looked at our walkability as a community and have made the recommendation that that is one of our priorities. With this grant coming in, I think it really gives us an opportunity to fix this finally, and with the funds being there through our sidewalk, the balance in our sidewalk fund, it seems like an opportune time to do this.
I'll move to approve.
Moved by Hallie to approve
Second.
the acceptance of the partial funding for Burlington and 9th Street safety crossing improvements.
And
Second,
and the motion is to spend the remainder
the remainder.
from the sidewalk.
Correct.
Second.
Second by Gandy. Any other discussion? Tom, any questions on that? Okay. No. Any other discussion? Please call the roll.
Hallie?
Yes.
Gandy?
Yes.
Flournoy?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Toohill?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Council. In my report, again, being January, we have terms of boards and commission members that expired at the end of 2018, so we're getting back to some of those folks about possible continuation and also some new appointments from committees where there were openings. So I have a list there for beautification. Lou Bolster, recommended for reappointment. On our Civil Service Commission, Brad Johnson for reappointment. Fairfield Media Center, Dick DeAngelis and Werner Elmker for reappointment. Carnegie Museum, Joe Hunt, Mary Hill, and Holly St. John, all new appointments. And the Airport Board, Pete Stetson and Jim Anderson for reappointment. So I would entertain a motion to approve those names for board and commission appointments.
So moved.
Moved by Anderson,
Second.
second by Gandy. Any discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Thank you. Council, you have a flyer we had printed. This is from Confluence, the group out of Des Moines that's doing our comprehensive plan. They are in the stage right now where they're putting together a first draft. One of the things that they've put together is a survey, which is done online. So this sheet can serve as a poster that we can post in public places around town, but also if you as council members would pass it on to your constituents, to your friends, business leaders, people you'd like to encourage to participate. I think it's about 35 or 36 questions. It'll go through pretty quickly. But a lot of what we've been discussing in the comprehensive plan is in the survey and the questions, and I think it would give us a good picture of what the priorities are in the community for usage in the plan. So I just invite you to take the flyer, post that somewhere, and obviously, Michael, if you would take care of that for Facebook, Rebecca will take care of it for the city website. Next, council will move to committee reports. Oh, also, I just want to mention that you have a copy of the contact information and committee assignments now that Tom has joined us. He is going to be filling vacancies that for Darren's. But I just wanted you to have a copy of that. And I guess finally, you are all aware, but we have been chosen as a RAGBRAI overnight. Interestingly, we were chosen for a Thursday night, which is probably a first since they're doing something I don't think they've ever done, which is 2 stops on the Mississippi River. So West Burlington will be the Friday night stop, and then Keokuk will be the Saturday stop. So anyway, I know there are going to be some meetings next week that the Convention and Visitors Bureau is organizing. The city always gets very involved with this, so hopefully we don't get too much more snow and burn everybody out before the summer comes. I'm looking back at Daryl. But our Park and Rec department and certainly our street department and all of our first responders are very involved in this event. It's a great opportunity for our community to showcase us, also to be a part of this great tradition in Iowa. But we know it's a lot of work, and we do enjoy having those guests in our community. So we'll, I'm sure, be having requests coming before the city as the months go on, but we're in the queue, so that's official. All right, then we'll move on to our committee and board reports, the Water and Sewer Utilities Committee.
Martha was unable to attend, so I filled in for her. Paul and I met last week. We had 2 sewer reduction requests. So these are instances where someone's water bill was higher than they thought, and they asked us to forgive the sewer portion. We can only do so if they can provide evidence the water did not go into the sewer, because if it went into the sewer, then we treated it and we have to charge them for that cost. The first one at 306 West Briggs, there was no evidence the water did not go into the sewer's wastewater treatment, so we denied that. And the second one, the property owner said that the water leaked from a second floor, but we needed more evidence than that, which we requested and have since got. But we're going to have to meet again to officially make a recommendation, so no action on that one. So there's no recommendations for council.
Okay. Thank you. And next we'll move to Public Safety and Transportation.
We met tonight just before council. We had a request from a gentleman whose abandoned vehicle was towed. We're going to give him another chance if he does want to come to a future committee meeting to discuss. It was really seemed like it was between him and the towing company, really, so I'm not sure what the committee could do. So no action on that. We talked about the dog ordinance. There is a portion of it that is quite old, maybe 75 years old, and we want to look at some of the wording on that to see if we can bring the ordinance more in line with our current policy, which is not that our police don't always pick up strays. We want to make sure that the ordinance reflects that. So we're going to take a look at that at a future meeting. We came to a decision on the situation with the parking at Grimes and 4th Street that we had initially were going to remove all the parking on one side of 4th between Grimes and Hempstead. Instead, the recommendation from committee is to remove the 2 parking spaces on 4th Street south of Grimes on the north side.
West side.
On the west side, but the north 2 spaces on the west side. I see Rebecca's really trying to make this crystal
I
clear.
worded this a lot better
We're
in
gonna-
my motion.
It was. I'm butchering it. And also remove the 2 spaces on the east side of 4th Street between Grimes and Hempstead. So those 4 spaces will be removed. Actually, that's a motion. John, do we want to bring that back with official language? Yes. Okay, so we'll bring that back with official language. The next item was, we talked about the pedestrian crossings over on 4th and Maryland Carpenter. And the last item was that the snow removal situation that the public has been very verbal about this year. One potential remedy or something that could improve our streets department ability to remove the snow would be something that a lot of other communities here in the state do, which is declaring snow emergencies where on-street parking is prohibited for a period of time. And so we've kind of compared to see what other cities are doing. There seem to be some standards. Typically, it's when 3 inches or more of snow has fallen or is predicted to fall. There has to be several public announcements about the snow emergency. So I believe 3 minimum is what John was saying. You got to get the word out there that it's coming and that when it's going to start and when it's going to end. And during that time of the snow emergency, vehicles left on the street would be towed at the owner's expense. And that would be, something we want to avoid, but at the same time, we want to clean the streets. So we're still discussing this. Nothing is moving forward at this time. We just want to look at this as a possibility of a way to clear the streets curb to curb and make them more passable with the hopeful help from the public, that people would be able to get their cars off the street. The concern that some of us voiced, myself included, where do some people who own cars park when they don't have an option other than street parking? So some cities try to clear parking lots first. So now they're giving a location for those cars to be moved before the snow emergencies. So really, you don't want to create an overly burdensome scenario for people who just don't have another place to park other than the street. But at the same time, we want to move the snow as best possible. So we're still discussing this. Maybe we'll come back with something at some point, but it's on our agenda and probably will be on a future meeting agenda. But no action on that either.
Okay, thank you for your report. Next, council will move to our project report. Melanie?
Not a lot of new information for the council tonight, this month. On the Step 2 sanitary sewer conveyance, I want to point out that we got our last permit for the project. The floodplain permit came from the Corps of Engineers in January. And so now we have 3 remaining property owners who are working with us, and we may be able to come to a closure without going to court on those. But we do not have an answer. We still have 3 left, so those 3 are the last things that are needed before we go to bid on this project. On the wastewater treatment plant, we've had several meetings this month. An item that is concerning for the entire sewer system. The electrical equipment is a key part that will allow us, for lack of a better term, to turn the sewer plant on. We can't accept the increased water from step 1, from 1.5, from step 2, until the electrical equipment is installed or arrives and is installed. Originally, we thought this would be done end of December. Then we were looking at beginning of March. And now we did get firm delivery dates from the supplier of March, I believe it was 17th. But what this means to the council is that we're going to be missing one of our intermediate dates for the EPA compliance schedule. So we have larger goals such as complete the wastewater treatment plant, and then smaller goals that are complete a flow study or do the design of a lift station. So we're going to be missing one of those dates. Myself and McClure, we're working on correspondence with EPA, letting them know what's going on. We have letters from the subcontractors and the manufacturers of the electrical equipment explaining what's going on. We don't foresee any resistance, but again, we want to let the council know that this is an issue that has come up. We really don't feel like it's the contractor's fault. It's unfortunately the atmosphere with the electrical equipment, and these are very specialized pieces as well, which is causing delay. I will let the council know perhaps at the next meeting if I have more information on this situation. Then the last 2 pages are not a lot of new information. I will say the Highway 1 improvements statements of qualifications came in on Thursday. We sent out the request for qualifications to 7 or 8 firms. We had 3 firms submit. All of the submittals were very reputable, and so the committee has decided to interview all 3 companies on February 5th, and we hope to come with a recommendation to council on your February meeting. Other than that, unless there's any questions, that's all I have for tonight.
Okay, thank you, Melanie.
Thank you.
Any questions, council? Okay. Aaron, have you ever report for us?
Mine will be fairly short. I had, the main highlight topic was, had contact with Allers and Cooney regarding 2 different TIF areas, regarding Phase 6 of the Fast 2 Builders North Campus Village, getting the developers agreement and the urban renewal area in place. We'll have a couple council meetings where we'll have to approve the development agreement and the urban renewal plans here in the near future to get those in place. Also making some amendments to the Lincoln and Court Street urban renewal area to add some storm sewer, and also probably adjust the legal description to make sure we had some lots that were missed on the last urban renewal plan, but just an adjustment so that we have those on in the urban renewal area for the future. So that's the big project or highlight for the last couple of weeks since I was gone for some of it.
Okay, thank you, Aaron. Okay, council, if there isn't any other business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Anderson,
Second.
second by Gandy. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Meeting adjourned.